Hello, hello. I think we're live. So I'm going to give it a minute or a minute or two as we see people coming in before we get started. So hello, everybody. Welcome to October's webinar presented to you by us here at Syntasso. And this month, we've got something really exciting for you and something that's quite near and dear to my heart. And that's the Kratix Feature Spotlight. So this is a chance for us to show you a little bit about what we've been up to over the last few months here at Syntasso, and give you a little sneak peek as to what's coming up next in our roadmap. Okay, let me share my screen. Oh, that's more like it. So, so this is myself and Chunyi are going to chat to you a little bit today about our new SKE GUI, which is one of our enterprise features that we've recently released, and our SDKs and events, which are available for open source users of Kratix as well. And just so that you want to hang around until the very end. Oh, is my share working? Can people see that? Okay, cool. So by the end of this talk, you will be able to learn what a promise is and how it provides something as a service. I'm hoping most of you know a little bit about Kratix already, but I do want to refresh your memories. You'll know how to bootstrap a promise in under 10 minutes. So this is a super rapid demo, and be able to quickly debug and fix any failures within that promise as well, thanks to our new status and events. And then, excitingly for me, is show it all off to your boss in our pretty new GUI. And I've been taking hints from the team at the platform newsletter, and I've made a wonderful, hilarious meme for you. So hopefully you'll be turning everything into promises soon as well. So we'll start with who we are. So I am Kat. I'm the product manager here at Syntasso. I've been here for a couple of years now, working with lots of platform teams of how they want to build their platforms and learning what's going to help them in the future. So that's where all of this great work has come from. It's feedback from our community. And I'm here with Chunyi.
Hello, everyone. I'm Chunyi. I'm a software engineer here at Syntasso. I've been with the company for about, I think, a year and a half now. And before that, I was at VMware and also mostly working on the Kubernetes and platform engineering space.
Awesome. Thanks, Chunyi. So what is Kratix? Kratix is our open source project for a platform framework. So it is comprised of a bunch of different parts. The key bit that we're going to talk about today is the promise, which is the way of providing something as a service. And it's requested by your application teams through whatever mechanism they want to request things. So we see a lot of users do Backstage through port or other internal GUI that you've already built yourself, as well as directly through the Kubernetes API, or GitOps is another one that we see quite commonly and is super exciting. The promise contains all of the steps that you need to go through to provision that resource. So it could be that your teams want to get a Kafka instance or a Kafka topic. There might be some checks and balances in your organization. You can encode that all within the promise and then make sure it's served as a service automatically to whatever destination makes sense and surface it to the user. So we'll dig into a little bit about what a promise is. It's got 4 key parts. It's got the API, which is all of the fields that you expose to your user. It's got dependencies, which are things that your promise relies on. Workflows, where you encode all of that information about your promise and how it should behave the way it wants to behave, and destination rules that tell you where it should go. And the way it does all the cool, clever logic in the workflows is by providing you containers where you can put all of that business logic and put all of those things that you want to do as code. Now, our customers are finding this flexibility really, really valuable. However, writing containers is as difficult as writing containers is. You need to be able to write code. You need to be able to share it. You need to be able to test it and upgrade it. That can be quite complicated. But for your application team users, all they need to think about is the interface. So they just go to wherever they're used to. So it could be Jira, Backstage, like I was saying before, GitOps is a really common one. And they need to access whatever surface information you've made available for them. So if you're requesting a database, maybe instead of having all of the different fields that are available to that database to choose how to configure it or how to make it run the way they want it to run, maybe you're like, okay, in our organization, we just want to give you the options of a size. You can have a small one, a medium one, or a large one. That makes your application team lives so much easier because they're not thinking about all the other complexities around it. And that complexity is abstracted away into the promise that your platform engineering teams own. Sounds really cool, except that bit is still very complicated. So all of those business rules and business logic is still very hard to write and codify. You've pushed down that knowledge and that complexity to your platform teams. And that was the case with promises. It's the case with most platforms, but not anymore. So we've made this super excitingly easy via our new CLI and our SDKs. So you can get it, all of that cool business logic and cool complexity wrapped up far faster than you used to be able to. And I'm going to hand over to Chunyi, who can show you exactly how to do that in 10 minutes or less.
Hello again. Let me share my screen and I can get the demo going. So let's see. Could everybody see my screen okay?
Yep, you're all good.
Okay, cool. Awesome. So like Kat was saying, I'm going to do a quick demo showing you how you can bootstrap a promise using our Kratix CLI and also our newly released Kratix Promise SDK. And after that, I will also be showing our brand new SKE GUI and also how you can use the GUI and to do like debugging of your promises, because we all know like writing promises sometimes maybe your container doesn't work as you expect, and debugging should be a lot easier now with our new GUI and also our new status events that we have been adding to our promises and also our resource request. So hopefully y'all can see my terminal. So in my terminal, what I have in this directory is it's something that looks like this. This is my promise directory. So the promise I'm going to develop is a PostgreSQL promise. And as Kat was saying earlier, so promise is like a core concept of Kratix, and you can wrap anything you want to provide as a service within a promise. And of course, for my PostgreSQL promise, I would like to, for this promise, to be able to provision Postgres database on demand. And to speed up my demo, I've already initialized partially this particular promise. So what I did was that I used the Kratix CLI to run a init promise command, and this has generated the directories and also an empty promise definition YAML. And after that, I ran the Kratix update dependency command that has generated a promise configure workflow for me. So there are two different type, two big different type of promise workflows. So you can have a promise workflow. So promise workflow gets executed when you're installing or uninstalling a promise. You can also have resource workflows. Resource workflow gets executed when you're making a resource request or when you're deleting a resource request. And so what I have here set up is I've figured out the promise configure workflow part so that we can focus on the resource configure workflow. Okay, so let's take a look at our current promise definition. So if I just cat the file, promise.yaml. So this is our promise.yaml file in here. You can see that this is our promise API. It's basically a Kubernetes custom resource definition, and as you can see in here, our entire property is currently empty because we haven't added anything to our promise API just yet. And then if we look down a little bit, you see that we have a promise configure workflow already there, but our resource workflow section is completely empty. Okay, so first things first, let's add something to our promise API. This is a database promise, right? So I will set all kinds of defaults for my Postgres database, but I want the size of my database to be configurable. So let's add that to our promise API. So you can do so by running a Kratix update API command. Okay, that says my promise API has been updated. So if we take a look of the promise file again, yay. So now our property is no longer null, and you can see that we have a new key being added in here. And the next step we should do is adding our resource configure workflow. So we can do that also by using the Kratix CLI. So we can do a Kratix add container command. And if we look at our directory structure now, you can see that we have a bunch of files being generated for our resource configure workflow. And what's most importantly is that we have generated some pipeline script files. And one thing I should mention is that if we just scroll up, you can see that the command I just ran, this add container command, I passed in a flag in here saying that that this language will be Python. So this means that this command is going to generate pipeline script that is written in Python for me. And this will use our Kratix Python SDK. So we have two SDKs. We have a Kratix Golang SDK. We also have a Python SDK. They provide the same functionality and follows a specified contract that we have. So both of these SDKs are open source project, and you can find them on GitHub. If you don't provide a language flag when you're generating the workflow, it's just going to generate a bash script. And bash script is fine. You can do quite a lot of things in there already. But for the sake of a demo, I'm going to show you the Kratix Python SDK. Okay, so I'm going to go to my editor. And we can take a look of the pipeline script that was generated. Yeah, I could show you the Docker file as well. So this is the Docker file that was generated as part of the add container command too. And you can see that it's installing our Kratix Python SDK, and then it's running the pipeline script. So let's take a look at the script. Okay, here we have it. This is the script, and you can see that this is a very simple script. We are initializing the SDK so we can use it, and then we are using the SDK to determine if this script is running in a promise workflow or running in a resource workflow, and then it's printing out some. It's doing some print lines in here, so it's not giving us a Postgres database just yet. So let's change that. So I will get rid of the print line because we don't really need it. But initializing the SDK is still important. So first things first, let's try to read the resource request manifest, because to create our database, we need the name of the resource request, and also remember we're also getting the size of the database configured through the resource request as well. So let's also consume that. So we can do I have this available in here. Okay, so you can see that I'm using the SDK here to read the resource manifest, and I'm also using the SDK to get the name of my resource request, and also reading the size of my database. Okay, and then next I'm going to just write out the manifest for my Postgres database. So this, and you can see that I'm setting all of the defaults in here, including user, team names, number of instances for my database, and also my database version. But I'm using the size and also the name that I have read previously. And I am also writing it out as a YAML manifest. So let's import the YAML library. It already knows. Cool. So this is going to give us a Postgres database, and one extra thing I would like to do is we're setting quite a lot of defaults for our database, so it's probably good to reflect some of that configuration in our resource request status. So you can do that easily with our SDK as well. So we can initialize a status. I think we can initialize it by just calling the status. And then we can say that we would like to write out some things in here. So given our status, we would like to set, maybe we should reflect the version that we have. So version is 16, isn't it? Yes. And we can also set a message in here as well. And we can say that this is, set. Maybe we can say that this is from configure workflow. Okay, and then we can tell the SDK to write out this version of the status. Cool. I think that's all we're gonna do for our resource configure step. So we should come back to our terminal and build this image and loading it to my local environment. So by the way, I'm doing all of this. I'm doing all of this demo in my local kind environment, so I'm not going to push the image. I'm just going to load it into my environment to make the image available. Okay, let's do that. Okay, that was about 10 to 20 seconds. Okay, so our images are loaded. I think we're ready to install our promise. So let's take a look of the promise definition again. So we have already looked at the Promise API section. It currently takes the size of our database, and we know that we have the Promise configure workflow already set up before the demo. And you can see that our resource configure section now has a pipeline definition. So this was added by the Kratix add container command as well. Okay, so that has installed our promise. Our promise is called database. Uh, So it says it's unavailable because our pipelines are executing. So if we do a describe in the promise, and so this is one thing that I want to show as part of the demo as well. So we've been improving the status condition in our Kratix object. So you can see that for our promise, we're telling you if the promise itself is available. We're also showing the status of the configure workflow, whether or not it was completed. For example, if the pipeline has failed, this condition would be false, and it would also give you a detailed reason. And we're also showing the status of all the works associated with the promise. On top of that, we're also publishing events. So it looks like this promise is all ready to go. If I just get the promise again, should be able to see that this is available. Yes, and that means that the promise right now is ready to accept resource request. We have a example resource request generated when we initialized the promise earlier. So let's take a look of that manifest. Okay, so the manifest is currently empty. We should configure the size. And 10 gig is a bit too much. Let's change it to 1 gig. And example database, that's an okay name. Okay, let's go with that. Resource. What's the file called? Example resource. Okay. Okay, so this has made a request to our database promise. if we do a describe in this resource request, you can see that we have the same set of status conditions set in here as well, and also like publishing events telling you what's been going on. And I'm looking for the status condition that we have set as part of our workflow. Yes, we see them in here. So if you remember, our message is set saying that this is from the configure workflow. We're also reflecting our database versioning here, which is 16. So that's just to refresh. That is coming from the pipeline script that we modified. So it's from here. Okay, so we just created a database promise, and we have made a request to it. I think that's a good segue for I to switch the gear to show you our new exciting GUI, because you can see all of this information in our SKE GUI as well. So for our GUI, we can go to, okay, it's asking for a token. Let me generate a token. So the GUI, in my environment, I have it set up so that it's deployed in the same Kubernetes cluster as my Kratix platform. Okay, and now we logged in here. So from here, we can see we have two different list tab. You can see list of promises in your environment. You can also see all the resource requests that you have across different promises in your environment as well. So if we take a look at the promise, as we could look at the database promise that we have just created and installed. So if we come in here, you can see that it's showing you all the information about the promise. It's showing you the status condition, and everything is healthy about this promise. What's cool here is that it also shows you the configure workflow job, and also the resource request associated with the promise, and as well as the works that we have created as part of the promise configure workflow. So if we go to, like, for example, if I'm interested in the job itself, I can go into the job, and then this can show me the pod in here, and then I can also see the detail of my of the pod that's created as part of this workflow run. Okay. And if we go to the list of resources, we can see similar things in here as well. So if I go to my example database, that's the Postgres that we have just created. So if we come here, similarly, we can see the list of jobs, and then we can also see the list of works. From the works, this is interesting. So if you go to the list of works that we have in here, it also shows you the work placement. If you know a little bit of like Kratix internals, so works are objects that Kratix create to schedule workloads to your registered destinations, and work placements are what associate a workload to a specific destination. So if you're wondering where your workloads are being scheduled to, you can look at that in the work placement. So in here, I can see that this is the file that I'm writing it out. And also, I can see that my target destination for this particular work placement is worker one, which is the only destination I have set up for my environment. Okay, cool. So that's the details and also the list view for our GUI. One other exciting view that we have built for our GUI is the map view. So if I go to the map in here, you can see that I have two promises installed in my environment. So this Redis promise is something that I have pre-installed already. So if we go here, you can see that we're essentially just essentially drawing like a visual representation about what your platform looks like now. So you can see the Redis promise. You can also see the Redis resource request I've created. On top of that, we're also showing you the jobs that's associated with each of the resource requests and the promise itself. This is a powerful way of visualizing the platform, because we know that like, for example, if you're just first started, maybe you're unsure about what kind of objects is created from a resource request, or what are the things that's created as part of when you're installing the promise. And we're hoping by providing something like this, it's easier to see, and therefore making the experience of developing Kratix and also operating Kratix a little bit better and also easier. Okay, so that's everything for the GUI. One last thing I wanted to show is if we come back to our terminal, and I have another I have another promise prepared in here, which is this promise. So you can tell from the file name, this is called a failing promise. It's not designed to work right now, at least for now. And I have this prepared because I want to show you what is the debugging experience looks like if I use the SKE GUI. So I have this promise, and you can see that the API section is pretty lean. I'm taking one specific key, that's fine. And then if I look at my all of my workflows, I have a promise configure workflow setup, but then I don't have any resource configure workflow. And this promise configure workflow is designed to fail. It's going to fail with a lack of permission error because by default, if you just create a pipeline with Kratix, it's not going to give you any additional permissions other than the permission to be able to schedule workloads and read the resource request manifest and the promise manifest. You're not going to have any permission to be able to list or create or update any other objects in your case cluster. So here you can see that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create a config map, and this is going to fail if I don't grant this workflow additional permission. So let's watch it fail. I'm going to apply this promise. Okay. So if I do a get promises, things are executing. Config create. Right, so the pipelines are still in progress. And I can see that I have one workflow execution that is crashing loop back off. So all of this is very easily to find in our GUI. So if I just go back to my browser, and I can come here and then reload. Yes. So we have the third promise being installed in here, and you can see that as opposed to all of the other ones, the status of it is currently unavailable. So if I come here, I can see that all kinds of status condition is being unhealthy, and I can go to the job. And from the list of pods, I can see that this pod is erroring right now. So from here, you can also see you can get the logs from the UI as well. So if I do show logs, and I know that is this exact container that is failing. So what does this says? It says that yes, it's trying to create a container. It's trying to create the config map, and it failed to create a config map because the action is currently forbidden because we don't have the necessary permissions. Cool. So you can see the logs in here, and I know how to fix that. So if I go to see, I think it's in a different repository. Okay, it's in here. Yes. So if I just uncomment this section, cool. And I can come back to the terminal just to make sure that it's been saved. Yes, it's been uncommented. Now if I just update my promise, failing promise, yes. Keep forgetting about the file name. Yeah, cool. So I think the execution of the updated workflow just happened. Yes, it's so fast. Cool. Let's come back, go back to the list of promises that we have, and refresh. It's now available. And if we go to the jobs, we now have a completed job in here, and everything is good. So So we saw that how we can do the debugging experience, like what's the debugging experience like if you use the GUI. But similarly, if you're comfortable with kubectl, if you would rather do all of that in your terminal, that's totally fine too. You can, of course, you can get the container logs and all of that. And that's I think that's almost everything for my demo. I just want to quickly mention that if you're interested to learn more about our SDK, they're open source. You can find them in here. We have two SDKs available right now. There's the Kratix Python SDK. We also have the Kratix Golang SDK as well. Feel free to give it a go. And we're keen to hear all of your feedback. And they're open source. So if you have anything that you would like this to do, feel free to contribute as well. And if you want to learn more about our Kratix, about our SKE GUI, we also have docs on that. There's a guide about how to use the GUI in here, which also includes screenshots about what the GUI looks like. And the PostgreSQL promise that we have just built as part of the demo. If you're interested to look at that, you can also follow our writing a promise guide in here. So this one, if you follow the guide, it will look very familiar to you. It's basically what we have just built in here. And I think that is all from me. I will pass it back to Kat.
Amazing. Thank you, Chunyi. And demo worked without a hitch. So thank you to the demo gods for us there. So in summary, I think I've started sharing my screen here. Awesome. Drum roll. Let's see how the screen share is feeling. Okay, that's fine. I can tell you what you saw. I'm just going to do a little summary. So you saw what a promise was. We showed you what it is, why it's useful, all the different parts of it. We showed you how to use the CLI and the SDK and how you can debug using status and errors, and then see that all in the SKE GUI as well, which is awesome. So if you want to see all of that, we've got some links. I don't know if my screen share is working yet, but we've got some QR codes that we can share with you, and we'll make the slides available even if they're not, and I can share the link as well in the chat. Where you can try it out. So Chunyi shared the link to those guides. They're on our kratix.io/docs website. And we also have a blog about our roadmap. So the SKE GUI was part of our enterprise roadmap. We've got a bunch of other cool stuff coming up, including testing frameworks, having better pipeline types that you can integrate with, and improving the upgrade experience for those promises. So giving you ultimate control as to how your resources get upgraded. So thank you very much. And thank you again to Chunyi. I think we've got a bit more time, so feel free to add your questions in the chat if anyone has any. But I've got a couple that were raised earlier in advance. So we had a question around the SDKs as to why it's so important for when you're building services in Kratix. Why is it important to have an SDK? So from what we hear from our customers side, they're really useful in getting started quickly. So they enable people to not have to write a load of different boilerplate code, write it over and over and over again in their different pipeline stages. So we've seen people move much, much quicker now that we've got the SDK there. And it means that if anything changes behind the scenes, you don't have to worry about it. So the SDK is just making people be able to go much faster and kind of understand the system much quicker too, because those functions are ones that are pretty common use cases. So you're not having to discover them for yourself. Is there anything else that you would think about in terms of why the SDKs are useful, Chunyi?
Yeah, I think just as what Kat is saying, it's so we have provided helper functions to essentially all the common use cases of what we think people would do in our workflow. So it's a good way to get started, and also the fact that it's built in Python and Go, like those are popular language choices that we see with our customers, with user of Kratix. And also like we have if you go to the repo, there are examples about how to use the SDK itself. So it's supposed to help you with like the starting point of it, and also because it does use the language like Golang and Python. Hopefully that makes your testing for your container logic easier as well. And I think we have some questions popping up in the comment section.
We do. So first one through is from Trent, and the question is, will the GUI show compound promises and the required promises? And yes, so we have just recently released the compound promise functionality into our SKE GUI. We just didn't want to make it part of this demo because we weren't entirely sure of how fast we were going to get that capability out. But if you do try the SKE GUI now, you'll be able to visualize your compounds in there. And as part of that, your required promises are as part of that capability as well. Anything to add on that one, Chunyi? Because if the answer is no, the next one's going straight to you.
No, so yeah, like Kat said, is a brand new feature that we just added to the GUI, and also if you would like to visualize the relationship between the compound resource requests to all of the children requests, you can also do that with. I think there's a similar feature coming up with our within our Kratix CLI as well. There's another new feature coming there too.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So if you want to try that out, we'd love your feedback on both the CLI and the GUI compound visibility. We have a question from Stuart, which is, which authentication method is present in the GUI, or do we need to put it behind something ourselves?
Yeah, I will take that one. So as part of the demo, I think you saw me generating a token. so, so by default, the GUI is going to be deployed with associating with a service account, and then so from there, it's very familiar. It's basically very similar to how you would do like service account authentication with within any kind of services in K8s. You generate a token, and then token will last for a bit, and then use that token to authenticate. Of course, you have the option of putting it behind something else. That's something that you can totally do. I think there's so the deployment that I just have, I didn't show that terminal page, but I don't have any external I don't have any external accessible service that is pointing at the GUI. So my GUI is just deployed within the cluster and has a private IP. And what I did was I just port forwarded to it. If in your environment you decided to make the GUI to be more widely accessible across your organization or across your team, then you can consider putting it behind something else. You can have ingress set up for this and have additional like TLS and verification set up for your GUI. Definitely, that's all available method for you to do.
And I think we are always interested in hearing how people are looking to authenticate and access these services as well. So our backstage integration as well, which is more for the application teams and the application users, that supports OIDC. And if we hear similar feedback, we would absolutely integrate that with our SKE GUI as well, or any other methods that people are interested in. It's just about getting feedback from our customers. So still interested in questions that are coming through. So one thing that we've also been asked is, what kind of insights do these features surface that weren't possible before? And I think our status and events in particular have allowed us to really surface some of those. How is your system behaving? When is it healthy and why isn't it healthy? Kind of information. So when stuff fails, it can be very hard to figure out where to go, particularly if you're not super in the weeds of Kubernetes. A lot of platform engineers are, but some of them are pretty new to the technology stack. So this is making it easier to run one line command or go to one page in the GUI and see what's actually gone wrong and fixed it. So you saw how fast Chunyi was able to fix that error that admittedly she wrote herself, but you could see it be fixed really easily and really quickly in one line. That was much harder to do sort of 12 months ago with the product. Cool. So I'm not seeing any other questions come in. And so I think I will call it there. So this will be uploaded to YouTube soon, so you can watch it there, and you'll be able to ask any questions in the YouTube comments that we'll get back to and answer as soon as possible. Like I said before, you can go to our kratix.io/docs page to find the enterprise docs and check out the GUI there, or to check out the Writing a Promise guide if you want to follow along with what Chunyi just showed you today. And if you want to try out the SKE functionality in SKE GUI yourself, if you go to syntasso.io, there should be a big button on the home page that says try SKE now or try SKE today. And then if you click that, fill in your details, we'll get a token generated for you and you can try it out for 30 days. Thank you for watching us, everybody, and have a lovely Thursday afternoon.